"What?" she snapped. Her voice cut through the docking bay like a plasma blade, sharp and dangerous, amplified by the acoustics of the cavernous station. Conversations around us died instantly. Cargo haulers froze mid-step. Even the automated loaders paused, servos whining softly as if unsure whether they were allowed to move. I blinked, suddenly aware that about 36 sentient beings were staring at me. "I just said you're really cute," I replied, confused. Was my translator off? The silence deepened. Then something happened that no one had ever seen before. Commander Zelawayen of the Thalkor Empire blushed. Now, to understand why that moment would later be recorded in at least 7 galactic archives under First Contact cultural anomalies, you need to understand who she was. The Thalkor were apex predators turned spacefaring conquerors. Tall, armored, four-eyed, with serrated mandibles and bioluminescent markings that shifted color with emotional states, except those markings were trained, from birth, never to change in public. Thalkor culture prized dominance, emotional control, and intimidation above all else. And Commander Zelawayen? She was their finest. Veteran of 12 planetary subjugations. Tactical genius. Known across 3 sectors as the Iron Huntress. She had negotiated ceasefires by standing silently until the opposing leaders broke under the pressure of her gaze. No one spoke to her casually. No one complimented her. And absolutely no one called her cute. Except me. I was stationed on Concord Station as a human engineering liaison, glorified repair tech with diplomatic immunity because humans were still considered a wildcard species. We fixed things no one else understood and somehow survived situations that should have killed us. That day, I'd been elbow-deep in a gravelift stabilizer when Commander Zelawayen arrived to inspect Thalkor docking access. She stood watching me work, arms crossed, radiating the kind of authority that made hardened mercenaries straighten their posture. I finished tightening the last bolt, slid out from under the panel, and nearly headbutted her armored chest. She didn't move. I did. "Sorry," I said automatically, looking up. That's when I noticed it. One of her bioluminescent facial markings, a faint spiral near her left eye, was asymmetrical. Just slightly. A tiny imperfection that somehow made her terrifying presence less so. Without thinking, I smiled. "You know," I said, "for someone everyone's scared of, you're actually really cute." That's when she snapped. "What?" she demanded, mandibles flaring. The Thalkor guards behind her stiffened, hands drifting toward weapons. My comm unit buzzed with frantic warnings from my supervisor. But I didn't backpedal. "I just said you're really cute," I repeated, genuinely puzzled. "It's not an insult where I'm from." Her bioluminescent markings flickered. Once. Twice. Then her cheeks, actual cheeks beneath the armor plates, darkened to a deep, unmistakable violet. A blush. The docking bay exploded into chaos. Thalkor guards recoiled in shock. A Krell ambassador dropped their datapad. Someone actually gasped out loud. Commander Zelawayen froze, one clawed hand lifting slowly to her face as if she didn't quite believe what her body was doing. "You," she said, pointing at me, her voice dangerously quiet. "Human. You will explain yourself." I was escorted, politely but firmly, to a private observation chamber. Alone. With her. The door sealed shut behind us. I became acutely aware that I was a soft, squishy mammal in a room with a legendary alien warrior who could probably tear me in half if she felt like it. So, I said, because silence has always made me nervous. I'm guessing that reaction doesn't happen often. Her markings were still faintly glowing violet. This has never happened, she said through clenched mandibles. Thalcor do not display involuntary emotional coloration. Especially not that. Well, I shrugged. First times for everything. She stared at me. Hard. Then something unexpected happened. She sat down. Heavily. As commander, she said slowly, I am feared. Respected. Obeyed. Never appraised. I frowned. Appraised? You evaluated me aesthetically, she said. Without challenge. Without fear. I thought about that. I guess I did. Why? I met her gaze honestly. Because you were standing there looking intimidating, and all I could think was that the galaxy must be blind if no one ever told you. Her glow intensified, then, with visible effort, dimmed as she forced it under control. You are reckless, she said. Yeah, I admitted. Humans get that a lot. Word spread fast. By the next cycle, rumors were everywhere. The Iron Huntress had reacted emotionally to a human. The human was still alive. Worse, he'd been seen walking beside her through the station. She requested my presence daily after that. Sometimes it was official, technical questions, human engineering insight. Sometimes it wasn't. She asked about human customs, about compliments, about why humans used affection as disarmament instead of dominance. I told her the truth. Humans use words to bridge gaps, I said. Fear makes distance. Kindness closes it. She considered that. I have ruled through distance my entire life, she said quietly. Over time, her posture around me changed. Less rigid. Her markings flickered more often, not just violet, but soft blues and greens I later learned meant curiosity and comfort. The station noticed. So did her enemies. The crisis came during a joint patrol mission gone wrong. Pirates, well-armed and desperate, ambushed our convoy near a debris field. Our escort was outnumbered, shields failing. Zeloen commanded the defense with flawless precision, but when a boarding torpedo breached the hull near engineering, I was still inside. They came for me. I remember alarms, smoke, and the sound of metal screaming as it tore. I grabbed a tool, because that's what humans do, and backed into a corner. Then the wall exploded inward. Zeloen stood there, armor scorched, eyes blazing. Anyone else would have seen a monster. I saw relief. She cut through the pirates with terrifying efficiency, then turned to me. Are you injured? She demanded. I shook my head. You came fast. Her markings flared, bright violet, completely uncontrolled. She didn't care who saw. After the pirates were repelled, after the station was secured, the council convened to commend the defenders. Speeches were made. Titles awarded. Then Commander Zeloen did something unprecedented. She addressed the assembly and gestured for me to stand beside her. This human, she said, her voice carrying, has demonstrated a trait the Thalcor have long dismissed as weakness. She turned slightly toward me. He sees without fear. He speaks without cruelty. And when faced with danger, he stands his ground not for dominance, but for connection. Her markings glowed softly. I find this admirable. The chamber erupted in stunned murmurs. I leaned closer and whispered, "So, still cute?" She looked at me and blushed again. History would remember that moment as the beginning of the human Ethalcore Accord. But I remembered it as the day I learned something important. In a galaxy ruled by fear, sometimes the bravest thing a human can do is speak kindly, even when the Queen snaps back.